Since the beginning of time, the age-long argument has been whether man gets to control his future or not. The answer is yes and no. Man gets to control his future by the choices he makes. As an individual, a third party can alter the future of another man by changing his choice slightly. Even if a choice is made a few minutes or a few seconds earlier, this results in a whole new story for the individual and the people who his choice affects. I'm one of the watchers missed the part. Join me with Season 1 Episode 18, What If Loki Was Nobel? Thor couldn't believe it. This day had finally come. He was dressing up, preparing himself for this marvelous opportunity. It was not every day that you could get to be crowned the future king of Asgard. His father Odin was so proud of him as he prepared himself, gradually to take this step. Loki stepped into the chambers, a smile on his face. Loki coughed, noting that Thor should really work on his hairdo, as it was preventing him from having that crown prince flair he was looking for. Thor chuckled and hugged his brother. Thor was really excited to be getting this position. Loki informed him that he would always be by his side, and Thor should not be afraid of anything. One thing he knew for sure was that Thor was going to nail it. Besides, Thor would be an amazing king. Loki hugged his brother one more time. Thor was excited as he had his brother's full support, and Loki had meant the world of what he had said. The ceremony had gone smooth, and Odin could not have been so proud. His son Thor was now formally recognized as the heir to the Asgardian throne. Of course, Odin could not help but recall his boy's childhood, where he informed them that both of them were worthy of bearing the title of king. Odin decided that it was about time he told Loki the truth. Loki needed to know why he was not selected. When Odin called Loki into his inner chambers, Loki looked rather frightened. He was not used to being summoned by his father like this. The only person that could summon him, and he would be rather unmoved, was his mother Frigga. Those two had a relationship Odin and Thor could not sometimes understand. Odin informed Loki that he needed to tell him something, only that Loki needed to sit first of all. Loki sat down, wondering what was going on. Odin immediately cleared his throat, noting that Loki had not achieved the throne because he was not truly an Asgardian. A shocked Loki sat unable to move as Odin identified his heritage as the Frost Giants. Odin noted that Loki has always been a good man, and Loki would always be by his side. However, Thor was a bit rash, and had tendencies to make decisions that would not benefit Asgard. And with that, Odin made another shocking revelation. He was going to grant Loki the power to render judgment on Thor, in case Thor had stepped out of line. Loki immediately asked that such responsibility be taken away from him. He would not want to have to hurt Thor. Odin smiled, and finally falling into his Odin's sleep. When Loki reached the Bifrost, Heimdall was rather surprised. He did not understand why the young prince had come here. Loki immediately revealed what Odin had told him, noting that he needed to reach Jotunheim to have a confrontation with his past. Heimdall swiftly advised Loki against such course of action, noting that the power Loki now possessed would not have him being influenced by random emotions. However, Loki said that he would be fine. When Loki had reached Jotunheim, he was shocked to see a crumbling wasteland. This was horrible for him to behold. Using his abilities, he was able to conceal himself from sight, ensuring that he had a little contact with the Frost Giants around. But one thing was clear. Even if they had once tried to kill innocent people by using the casket of ancient winters, they need help, and Loki knew who to meet. Loki was shocked when a drunk Thor said to his proposal. Loki insisted that these people needed help, and such a step was a move forward to building a position relationship the gods and the Frost Giants. However, Thor would not hear of it. He insisted that he was the king now, and a king could do whatever he wanted. For some reason, that scared Loki a lot. Some years after, Loki could only behold in shock the rapid changes Thor had undertaken in the kingdom. Power had somehow found a way to get into Thor's head, and he had become ruthless, only doing things that benefited himself. Loki could not count the number of realms Thor had just attacked for no reason, and yet, every day Loki wondered if it was time for him to use Odin's power. When the Asgardians discovered an item as powerful as the ether on Earth, Thor knew that it had to be retrieved immediately. He decided to go to Earth and get the item, which was identified to be a tesseract. Loki asked him to accompany him. He had said this because he wanted to watch Thor. He wanted to make sure Thor would not do something foolish. Dr. Jane Foster, Dr. Eric Selvig, and Darcy Lewis were surprised and impressed at their breakthrough in the past few years. Somehow, they were able to be recruited by one of the most powerful bodies in the United States, S.H.I.E.L.D., to study the powerful Tesseract. Phil Coulson was supervising their work, joined shortly by Tony Stark, Clint Barton, the Romanoff, and Steve Rogers. As they worked, a strike knocked them off. Thor stood in the room, and his goofy fashion walked towards the Tesseract. Mjolnir in his hands, Tony and Clint immediately tried to attack, but they were knocked immediately. Steve Rogers engaged the god, but he was definitely getting a beating. Loki was hurled into a corner, seeing the things that Thor was doing. He knew that Thor needed to learn important life lessons, and he needed to render judgment on Thor now. He quickly looked at an unconscious Jane Foster and smiled, deciding on what his judgment would be. And in all amount of godly powers, Loki sentenced Thor to a human life on Earth, noting that whoever would be worthy would possess the power of Thor. As Loki assumed his position on the Asgardian throne, he was sad that he had left his brother on Earth. However, he knew that Thor would one day find his peace again and reclaim his hammer. He hoped for everyone's sake. Immediately, Sif stepped in with news that the Mad Titan Thanos was heading towards Earth immediately. Loki stood up from the throne and told Sif to prepare the Asgardian forces. They would go to war soon. And that is going to be, what if Loki had been Nobel in the MCU? What do you think would have happened if Thor took a power trip and went against the Avengers to get the Infinity Stones? If you guys do enjoy these Marvel's What If, and would like to stay up to date with the latest content, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. Anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in, and have a fantastic day.